Okay, we can start.
I ran.
From Purim to Pesach, huh?
Yeah, in 30 days.
That's what it is. From Purim to Pesach. Got to stick everything in. I don't know if we're going to meet again before Pesach.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's
yeah.
Beis Hamikdash.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be upstairs. You're going to be downstairs.
No, but I'm not. I need to pay you something for the work you're going to do, you know?
Meat. Good piece of meat.
This week is Parshas HaChodesh. What's Parshas HaChodesh? We read in Parshas Bo. HaChodesh hazeh lachem Rosh Chodashim. Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that's the beginning. It's Rosh Chodashim. Be the first of the month. The first of all the months. We count all the months from Nisan. Now during the Yevanim, Chanukah time, so the Yevanim, the Greeks, they made gezeras against the Yidden, and they prohibited us from being Mekayim the mitzvahs of Shabbos, Bris Milah, and Kiddush HaChodesh. So we understand, if you want to make gezeras against the Yidden, so what are the biggest, most important mitzvahs that we have? Shabbos, we understand. Shabbos is, I mean, that's one of the big, just about the biggest mitzvah. Bris Milah. Shabbos is the identity of the Yidden. We recognize Kodesh Baruch Hu, Sheshes Yomim. They always have made gezeras against Shabbos, gezeras against Bris Milah, because that's the initiation of a Yid into Am Yisrael. Why Kiddush HaChodesh? What's Kiddush HaChodesh? It's not up there. If you would be a goy making gezerah against the Yidden, you would choose Kiddush HaChodesh. Why Kiddush HaChodesh? And they concentrated on Kiddush HaChodesh. They wouldn't let the Beis Din get together to be Mekadosh the Chodesh. What's so important? So there's
eat pizza. I used to eat pizza on Rosh Chodesh.
What?
We used to eat pizza on Rosh Chodesh. Pizza day.
What's the first? That's the first mitzvah, right?
Excuse me?
Isn't that the first? That's the first mitzvah in the Torah.
Yeah, but it's so important. If you had, from 1 to 10, which are the most important mitzvahs? I mean, I don't know if Kiddush HaChodesh would. It's the first mitzvahs, but it's not of the mitzvahs. It doesn't seem to be so important.
But it's the whole thing that Am Yisrael is in control of.
Oh, so that's my Torah. So I have it. That's what I wrote years ago, because it shows that Am Yisrael, the Sanhedrin, is in control of nature. When whatever the Chazal decide is going to be the calendar, so that's the calendar. And Min Hashemayim, they agree, right? It says by a girl becomes she's a basula, so it's when at the age of 3 she loses her basula. So when is she 3? According to the Jewish calendar, everything is according to the Jewish calendar. If they make a nibur yor, an extra month, that's when the bar mitzvah is. You become, you can have 2 kids, one day apart, but because of the Ibra, you are they switch dates. Anyway, that's the old teretz.
The Kuzari says that the calendar keeps Klal Yisrael together all over the world because it keeps everyone on the same cycle. And if you didn't have Kiddush HaChodesh, everyone would know exactly what the days were. Everyone would have different days of Pesach and different months, and you wouldn't know when the Uber is, and as a big month.
Excellent.
It's a big breakup period of Klal Yisrael. It's an amazing thing that Klal Yisrael managed all over the world to keep the exact same calendar when they were dispersed.
So I want to say another Kiddush. They're all true. Shivim Panim L'Torah. And they're all true. The Arugas Abaysim, there's a Sefer Arugas Abaysim. So he points out by Kiddush HaChodesh Kadosh Baruch Hu, we know, created the entire universe. Kadosh Baruch Hu is emes. Kadosh Baruch Hu is stable. There's only one emes. Hoya hoiva v'yiyah. He was, he always will be. He's eternal. It's always the same. And he created a universe which the laws of nature are tremendously stable. From the beginning of time till today, to the end of time, the laws of the universe are stable. The laws of gravity hasn't changed. Speed of light is a constant. All the laws of electromagnetism, all these things are constants and they don't change. Right? All of a sudden we have a phenomena in the sky that changes. It grows till it becomes full, and then it wanes, and then it disappears, and then it comes back again. And it's sort of like out of character for HaKodesh Baruch Hu to create a phenomena that is constantly changing. Why should HaKodesh Baruch Hu do that? It's out of sorts. No, law of gravity is the same.
Day and night changes, winter and summer changes.
But day is always day. No, but day is always
also
day.
The moon always through
No, that's true. But as far as what we can see, by the stars, we only see the stars at night. We don't see stars during the day. But when we see the stars, it doesn't, flip out, in and out of existence. When we see the sun during the day, except for an eclipse, it doesn't flip in and out of existence. But by the moon, as far as we can see, because everything is our observation. I'm talking about absolute. The moon is there. We understand. We can calculate the cycle of the moon. I don't mean that. But as far as what we can see, what we can observe, our observation is that the moon, it grows, descends, disappears, reappears. It's constantly changing. It's out of character. Why should the HaKodesh Baruch Hu do that? And we know that the moon, that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us the moon to tell the months. Why is it called the month? It's a month. Why is it called a month? It's a month. Yeah. So we calculate according to the moon. So we have a lunar year. The Goyim go according to the sun. The sun is steady. They have a problem, so they have an artificial division of months. Where they get 30 days for a month? Because if you look at the moon, it's about 29, 30 days. So they got that concept, but they go according to, so they made an artificial concept of a month, and it has nothing to do with the moon.
In February they just like 28 kaka,
Excuse me?
So February sometimes.
It got lost. February got lost because February didn't have the name of a Caesar. All the other ones had the name of a Caesar or a Getchka. January is from the Getchka, Jan.
No, they only had 10 months.
August, July, Julius. Yeah, Augustus Caesar or Julius Caesar. So I gotta have 31. I can't have be 30 like everybody else. I could. So therefore somebody got, so they dumped it on February, it got lost.
And then they added 4 months as well. September is 7, October is 8, November is 9, December is 10.
And you see that we're right. Yeah. It's a very interesting thing, you see that we're right. Because the year does not start in January 1st. Because what's September? The 7th month in Latin, September is 7, November, right? October is 8, Acht. November is 9, December is 10. Decimal, right? December is 10. Now if you take it back, so it comes out, what's the first month? March. Pesach time. Pesach time. So everybody started at Pesach time, the same just like we do, in March. March, April. So it's very, very but they changed because this is another story why they changed it.
It's the first to get you,
Yeah. Anyway, so,
the more interesting concept, the catch.
You know what New Year's Day is? New Year's Day is 8 days after.
The New Year's is the bris. Yeah.
The more interesting concept.
He wasn't born there. He was born in Kitzur.
the more interesting kinds of cash that has nothing to do with the calendar, and you can't stand if you don't know the 7-day week, where it came from.
Right. It's universal.
It has nothing to do.
And it's universal. The 7 days of the week is universal because it was obvious to all of mankind that it's 7 days.
The Soviets tried to change it multiple times, like 10-day work week or 5-day week, and they could never ever get it. Like with all the might and everything.
Anyway, so the Arugas Abosim, so Klal Yisrael, the Goyim, they're Nimshal. The Goyim are Nimshal to the sun. They have the solar year. The Yidden, we count by the moon. We have the lunar year. The moon represents Klal Yisrael. Says the Arugas Abosim. The moon is a symbol. It's a mashal, or it's representation of Klal Yisrael. Of Klal Yisrael and each individual Yid. Every individual Yid, Klal Yisrael. We have grown, we've had bright times. We had the golden age of Spain. We had the times of King Shlomo Melech, when Klal Yisrael was prominent. We've had many times of being prominent. We had the Bayis Rishon, we had the Bayis Sheni, and we've been, things have been very bright for Klal Yisrael. We had the time in Europe when we had the Rishonim, the time of the Tosfos, and the Torah was flourishing in Germany. So we've had very bright times when the moon, everything's shining on us. And then we've had very terrible times, and then it wanes and it disappears. And we had pogroms. We were thrown out of Spain, the expulsion from Spain. And they had the pogroms, the crusades in Europe. It wiped out during the time of the Bali Tosfos. It wiped out cities. It was terrible. We had the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and then we have the Golas today. When we're not prominent, the moon is hidden. The moon is hidden. So the moon is a symbol never to lose hope. Just like the moon goes from being a full moon down to nothing, to a Chodesh, right? The new moon totally disappears. The full moon is bright, and then it disappears until there's absolutely nothing. But it comes back again. And that's the symbol of Klal Yisrael. We're going to come back again. And the same thing by a person's life. Many times a person has businesses hopping, everything's wonderful. Sholem Bayis is great, the kids are great, everything's great, right? He's got money in his pocket, and he says, I have a bright future. And then the bank collapses in California, there's a bank crash, right? And a person could lose, or the stock market can crash, like happened in 2008, right? A person could lose his whole fortune. The business could go sour with all the consciousness. It just, for some reason, the business just plotzes. A person should never lose hope. Kadosh Baruch Hu is running the world, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu has made us in the image of the moon as a mashal. We're nimshal to the moon. Just as the moon disappears, it wanes and it becomes small, and it becomes nothing, but then it comes back again, and it's going to have a very great bright future.
It's the 15 days from a new moon to the full moon. It's compared to the 15 generations from Avraham Avinu to Shlomo Melech.
But all these things happen to the Goyim as well.
But they disappear. The Goyim disappear. You look at the Goyim, look at all the different nations, the empires. This is the word I'm looking for. The empires that ruled over us. You had the Babylonian Empire. You had the Assyrian Empire. They're gone.
On a personal level as well? When the Goyim,
by the Goyim, if a guy goes bankrupt, he goes bankrupt. He's finished. I mean, they don't come back. They don't have that promise from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. They don't have that Hashgacha Pratis from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. They're not Bonim the Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was the biggest empire at the time. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu went like that to it during the Eser Makos and in Kriyas Yamsuf. It never came back. It's not, even when it came back, it was different people. It says it was different people. The original Mitzrayim were gone, and then the new Mitzrayim with the new Paro, it was like a different nation. The Persians, Parshas today is not the same Persia as it was then. They're different. It's totally different nation, slightly different people. Nothing's the same. The Greek Empire, even the Greek language is not the same as it was then. Nothing. Look at the Christian religion. It's totally morphed into. You can't even recognize it from what it was originally.
Don't we say that Germany is Amalek?
That's a midah of the person. Yes, they're Amalek. It's a midah of a person. They have a midah of the Amalek, the Achzorius, and the atheism of Amalek. But as far as a nation, it's not the same nation. The same people as the richest of them. I'm talking about. So he asked me, what about we see by the Goyim? When the Goyim go down, they're finished. He says, they can't come back again.
There's no comeback.
But by the Yidden, so therefore it says that's Pshat. The Arugas Abayim says HaChodesh Azeh Lochem. This is a Chodesh. The symbol of the Chodesh is Lochem. It's for you. And this is what we say. What we have in Kiddush Levana. Chodesh Man Nosan Lehem Shlo Yishanu is Tafkidam. Says there's stability in the Zmanim of the stars, of the moon. They are Poel Emes because the Kodesh Baruch Hu gave them the koyach. Then Ulalavana Amashit is HaChodesh. Everything else is stable. Asher b'mamora bar shchakim. He's very chokuzman nosan lehem. Everything is stable. And then, but to the Levana, he said to Tischadesh, Ateris Teferes Lamusei Boten. This is an Ateris for the Klal Yisrael, the Amusei Boten. Shehem Asidim L'Schadesh K'moiso. This is the symbol. The symbol of the Rosh Chodesh, symbol of Rosh Chodesh is Klal Yisrael is Asidim L'Schadesh K'moiso. So that's why the Greeks, that's why the Arugas Abayim says, that's why the Greeks chose Kiddush HaChodesh to make gezeras against it. They weren't able to do Kiddush HaChodesh. That Klal Yisrael should lose their hope.
I mean, why not the Greeks? And why not the Mitzrayim or any
The Greeks were philosophical. They were antithetical to the philosophy of Klal Yisrael. That's another thing. Why the Greeks? But that was the Avonim was Aristotle. It was
HaChodesh was more the goof, like the Gosh, like the
that was pure Gashmi. He was a
Persians
Baal Taiva. He was a Baal
Babylonians
Taiva. He was a Baal Taiva. Babylonians were Baal Taiva. They wanted to conquer.
And the Mitzrayim were not. I mean, the Mitzrayim want to mix it.
That's the Shiloh. I don't. To touch up everybody. You asked me why Dafka the Greek. First of all, by Mitzrayim was before we were Klal Yisrael, so we didn't have all these mitzvahs.
Just why Yvonne on
because they were philosophical and they felt that we were antithetical to they had the truth. They had Aristotelian philosophy and science of the days, and we were mystical, and they didn't believe in all this mystical stuff. Aristotle didn't believe in metaphysical. Well, Klal Yisrael believed in metaphysical. Everything had deeper, hidden, ruchnius meanings. The Greeks didn't believe in ruchnius. They believed in dry science. That's like the scientists today, dry science without any metaphysical ramifications. Anyway, but they wanted the Yidden to lose hope. How do you make them lose hope? They can't be Makadosh L'Chodesh. They can't say, right? V'hem asidim l'schadesh k'moisa. They couldn't do it. That's the symbol of Rosh Chodesh. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz Zatzal, he used to tell over a story when he did Kiddush Levana. So he used to tell over. He once met a Holocaust survivor. He had been through the camps, And he asked him, how did you survive? How did you survive? And he was still from. How many people they dumped the Yiddishkeit afterwards, you know, and then they threw everything off afterwards. But this Yid, he held on, and he was still a from Yid afterwards. He says, how'd you hold out? How come you didn't give up? So the Yid said, it was very, very hard. Couldn't do any mitzvahs in the camps. Not Shabbos, not Lulav, not Pesach, not Hanukkah. They couldn't light Hanukkah, nothing. They couldn't do any mitzvah. There was one mitzvah they were able to do. At the beginning of the month, they were able to go out at night, look up. The moon was always there. The moon was always there. The Nazis couldn't take the moon away from them. They looked at the moon. They said Kiddush Levana in the camps. He said, that gave us our koyach. We looked up the moon and we learned we're going to be Mischadish, says Shehem Asibel Ischadish Kamoiso. And that gave us the strength. We just finished Purim. What's the lesson of Purim? Which is also going to be the lesson of Pesach. Klal Yisrael, we see from Kiddush HaChodesh, Klal Yisrael has a mile of we were chosen, we're a bonim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a special hashgacha pratis over us. Everything that happens to us is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we have to look for a bright future. How do we see that we look for a bright future? We just had Parshas Ki Sisa. In Parshas Ki Sisa, Moshe Rabbeinu, he asked the Kadosh Baruch Hu, show me your ways. I want to see you. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu asked Ribono Shel Olam. Ribono Shel Olam says, I'm gonna put you in the cave because the light of the Kadosh Baruch Hu is so bright that you can't withstand it. So I'm gonna put you in a cave. I'm going to put my hand over you. So you're protected from the light of Hashem. Then when I pass over, when I pass over, I'm going to take away my hand and you'll see my back. But you can't see my face, my front. So the Chassam Sofer says, and this is the lesson of Purim. Before the fact, we don't know what the future is going to be. There's no gear to business, no gear to private life, raising children. You can't know what the future is going to be. After all is said and done, at the end, when you look back at all the facts, then you see a whole chain of events. And in that chain of events said, and you see how everything is a chain of events. They're all connected events that led to the finale. And that's what Olam Haza is. And that's what this Golus is. Esther min Torah minayim. Where do we see Esther min Torah? What do you mean, where do we see Esther min Torah? Because in Bayis Rishon, there was Giloi Shechina. There was Ha'oris Panim. They saw Nisim. Kadosh Baruch Hu doing Nisim with Klal Yisrael. Everybody saw Klal Yisrael. They had the Beis HaMikdash, Asar Nisim B'Kol Yom, and they won the battles. They went up to, they did Aliyah L'Regel, and none of the surrounding Goyim had the nerve to even attack even the private farms. They saw Nisim, Galuyim. Now they were in Gullus. There's Hester Panim. Esther and Torah Menayim, where do you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was still with Klal Yisrael at a time of Hester Panim? We see it from Megillas Esther. Why is it called Megillas Esther? Because it's Megala the Hester. Megillas Esther is Megala the Hester. And you can only see it Lamafreya. We don't have this Shem Hashem in the Megillas Esther at all. And it starts off, it looks like it's just like a New York Times. Imagine, the Chedush Yarim says, imagine you're sitting in the Beis Medrash, and the guy, and everybody's sitting and learning. Oh, did you hear? They had a party. And the king killed Vashti. What's, you killed Vashti. So then they go back to sitting and learning. A couple of months later, did you hear? They're looking for a new queen, and they took a Yiddish maidel. This girl Esther, they took her. What's a girl Yiddish maidel going to do in the palace? I go back to sitting and learning. Did you hear? They tried to assassinate the king. There was his two bodyguards, Bixen and Seresh. They tried to assassinate the king. But Mordechai, Baruch Hashem, one of our guys, he told the king, and they stopped the assassination. Oh, wow. Just a bunch of things. Did you hear? There's a sign. They made Haman the Secretary of State. He's the second in command, and now there are notices all over the city. In 11 months from now, in Oder, they're going to kill all the Jews. Oy vey. It looks like a series of independent, unrelated events. And then they see Mordechai on the horse, and they see Haman leading him, and they say something just happened. This is not normal. And then there's the party with Esther, and because the king liked Mordechai tried to save the life of the king, and Haman and Haman wanted to kill the Jews. Oh, he wanted to kill the people of Mordechai. Therefore, hang him on it. It wasn't an independent, unrelated chain of events. The whole thing started, it was a 12-year period, from the beginning to the end, 12-year period. And everything was related in order to get to that finale, that Esther is the queen, and she saves the Yidden, and in order to save the Yidden, they had to have a tshuva movement, 3 days of fasting, a tshuva movement, and it created a tremendous rejuvenation of Yiddishkeit. And it was all orchestrated. Esther min Torah Menayim. That even in Hester Panim, the Jews had lost hope. In the Bayis Rishon, they had Nisim Galuyim. In Golis, they had lost hope. But then when they saw the Ness of Purim, they realized, even in Hester, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being mashkiach on us. And even though the Ness is not Nigla, it's not an outright Ness, still the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashkiach on us. He's mashkiach on us. Everything that happens is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which brings us to Pesach. Man ishtana halaylo hazeh mikol halaylos. The Goy has the kasha. The diktuk is not right. Laila is nekeva. Leilos is nekeva. Man ishtana halayla hazos mikol halaylos. That's what it should be. It's the Goy has the kasha. So
Diktuk is for Madarsha. I don't do Diktuk.
Laila is the key.
Leilot. This is the gross. This is the gross kasha. It should be nekeva. It should be lashon nekeva.
לילות ארוכות.
Okay, that's the Gemara in Kedusha. Sometimes you have a word which is, it's leilot and yet it's zachar. But this is the Gro's kasha. He says it should be, why is it, manishtana halayla has, why is this night should be zos and yet it's zeh? What's the difference between zos and zeh? All the mitzvahs that we have, the major mitzvahs that we have lulav, we have korbanis, bringing the korbanis, we have tzitzis, tefillin, all the mitzvahs are during the day. Megillah is midrabanan, but all the mitzvahs that we have are during the day. All of a sudden, we have a mitzvah which is dafk at night. Achilas matzah and korban pesach. Why is this mitzvah at night? Manishtana halayla hazeh. That it became, this should have been, that it's night, because it's really day. That the HaKodesh Baruch Hu is showing us that at night, when it's dark, and there's Hester, he does the gula, which is day. And it becomes broad daylight. Because Makkos B'chayris was at night. And we did the mitzvah of Korban Pesach and the matzahs at night. And the gula happened at night, at Chatzos. When Paro came and says, you're all free, get out of here. So the gula came at night. So the gula, which is day, it came at night. So Manishtana, this Laila Hazeh, Mikola Leilos. Because Laila is the time of Hester Ponim. And this is the limud that we learn. The limud learned from Purim. The limud that we learn from Manishtana Halayla Hazeh. Agavorcha. I said there's a Yiddish version of Manishtana. There's a Yiddish version of Manishtana. Pesach by Nacht wieder Tate kommt heim from shul. Now this is a slightly longer version, and this is the Hasidish version. My kids in Minor Simcha, so they had the Kitzer version. We'll see in a second that the Hasidish didn't like the Kitzer version. Pesach bei Nacht wieder, wenn der Tate kommt heim vom Schul, tut an die weiße Kittel und man macht gleich Kiddush. Kedei, die kleine Jüngerlach sollen nicht anschlafen und fragen der Tate für Kashes. Pesach bei Nacht, the Tate comes home from Shul, and he puts on a white kittel, and he makes him right away, he makes Kiddush, in order that the kleine Kinderlach shouldn't fall asleep, and they should ask the four kashas. Okay, that's the Yiddish version, the full Yiddish version. So one time there was a Yingel, the son of a Hasidic Rebbe. Huh? Afterwards. The erste kasha is... Yeah. This is the Hagdama to the Fir Kashas. So the kid came home, the son of a Hasidic Rebbe came home, and he said, the other version. Pesach bei Nacht wie der Tate kommt heim, macht gleich Kiddush. He skipped the whole thing. So the Rebbe says, why'd you skip he puts on the kittel, and he makes it, and in order the kids shouldn't go to sleep. Why'd you skip all that? He says, I don't know, this is what the Rebbe taught me in Cheder. So he... Yeah, so he after Pesach, so he went to when the Cheder opened up again. He went to the Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe. He said, "Why'd you leave out the nusach?" It's not it's not important. The ikar is to get to you got to get to the manishtana. Pesach, when the Tati comes home from shul and he makes kiddush immediately, and then we get right to the manishtana. Get right to the manishtana. So the Rebbe says, no. You don't understand. You don't understand. The manishtana is not talking about little kleina kinderlach. Doesn't mean the little kleina kinderlach shouldn't go to sleep. It's talking about Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael are the kleine kinderlach. We're tired. It's been a long gullus. And so we daven, Tata in Himmel, come home, put on your white kittel, the white kittel of Tara and Kedusha, and hurry up and make Kiddush, because Klal Yisrael, your kleine kinderlach, are tired and we're about to fall asleep. The Manishtana is a call for us not to give up. Not to give up.
Starting to get worried. Starting to say decision revolts here.
Yeah.
50th anniversary, that's it. HaChodesh time. You know? The kids are all married. You know?
We say, the Chazon Ish, the Chazon Ish, he talks about B'tochen.
We grew up at it.
Yeah, he was a Litvak. Yeah, the Chazon Ish, he talks about B'tochen, and he says, it's very easy to have B'tochen when business is booming, when you got money in your pocket, the economy is flying, everything's wonderful, you got a nice nest egg in the bank. Then it's I have B'tochen. Yeah, that's easy to have B'tochen. But now, when the bank in California collapses, and the investments go down, and the economy is collapsing, and business is not hopping, you can't find investors, you can't sell your goods, and prices are going up. The inflation is way out of line. You can't afford it. You can't make ends meet each month. Then have B'tochen. That's the kunz. Then we know the real person with B'tochen when he says, even in such a situation of Hester Panim, I still believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is running the show. Everything that happens is from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. HaKodesh Baruch Hu is Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Hoya, Hova, V'yihya. It's all in that word. Hoya, Hova, V'yihya. He always was, is, and always will be. Everything that happens is from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. In the Ani Mamin, they made a song out of it. Ani Mamin. Right? He's Bari Omanig. Bari Omanig. Oisa Kol HaMaisis. Everything. He does everything. There's a Maisa with the Ramban. The Ramban, he lived at a very terrible time. It was the Catholics were making terrible decrees, gezeras against Klal Yisrael. Terrible decrees against Klal Yisrael. They had the Maisa with the Ramban. They brought him in for a vikuach, for a debate, the great debate. And he only agreed if he had the ability for free speech. You know, they wouldn't chop his head off immediately if he desecrated the New Testament. So he says, I want to be able to speak if you want to have an honest debate, I have to be able to speak honestly. So the king agreed against the wishes of the bishop. And the Ramban, he geschmettered the other side. But then he had to run for his life because they were out for his life. He had to run. That's when he had escaped from Spain. He had escaped from Spain. He had to go to Eretz Yisrael because they were out to kill him because he desecrated their religion. He lived at a terrible time. He had a Talmud, and the Talmud was passing away. Famous story. You heard the story. Famous story. Talmud was passing away, and he saw as it was about to go. He went to the Talmud, and he says, I'm giving you a kameya. Gave him a kameya, an amulet. And he said, with this amulet, you're going to take this amulet, and you're going to go, all the gates are going to open up, and Shemayim is made of different heichels, different rooms and different palaces, and you go higher and higher and higher, and they have different places. You're going to get to a final heichel called Kisois HaMishpat. That's the name of the heichel. Kisois, the chairs of Mishpat, of judgment. You're going to get to that heichel, and he wrote out, I have several shilas, I have several questions. I need desperately to know the answers to these questions. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? I need to know the answers to these questions. And you're going to go to that heichel. He was a big makubal, the Ramban. You're going to get to that heichel, and you're going to ask these questions, and then come back to me afterwards and tell me the answer. Passed away, whether it was a few weeks, a few months, and he's sitting by his desk, and then he sees in the window the appearance of this Talmud. This Talmud appeared to him. And he said, Rebbe, everything was exactly like you said. I took the amulet, and every door that I went to, every heichel I went to, I showed him the amulet, the kameya, and they opened it up for me, and went higher and higher and higher until I got to that final heichel like you told me. And then I took out the shilas that you asked, and I was about to ask the questions when I realized there's no questions. There weren't questions at all. It was so emes and so truth. The emes was so clear to me, and the whole thing was so clear to me. It was silly to ask the question because there was no question. If you know the end, so then the question at the beginning doesn't occur. So I couldn't ask the question because it was so clear to me. This is the famous mashal of the Chafetz Chaim. I told you the mashal of the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim says it's like Olam Hazeh is like a farmer, a guy never been in shul. He's never been in shul. He's always been on the farm. But he's always been on the farm, and finally he comes to the big shul, and he goes to the shul, a big shul on Shabbos, giant shul, and they're calling out aliyahs. And they go, Yamo, they call Yankel from the left side, from the right side, from the front, from the back, and from Arba Kanfos Oris is calling out, Yamo. So, the country bumpkin, he's watching this, and after the davening, he goes over to the Gabbai, and yes, it was very nice, very enjoyable being here. But I have a question. Why was everything so helter-skelter? There was no order, there's no seder. Do things properly. The first week you call the front row, second week you call the second row, third week you call the next row, and then if you go according to then everybody will get a chance, and everybody will have a turn, and everybody will be happy. Why do you have to go from all the sides? So the Gabbai laughs. You country bumpkin. You come here 1 week and you want to know what's going on. You want to understand this. If you would have been here a couple of weeks ago, the guy in the front row, he had a bar mitzvah, so he had to have an aliyah. So I had to give it to him then. The guy behind me on the back row, last week he had a yard site, so he had to get an aliyah. Then there was an offer of 1 week, and then for the ganze mishpacha, they had to have their aliyahs, they had to have their turns. So everybody got it according to what was happening. Everybody got his turn, his aliyah, in his time. If I would do it your way, nobody would get it when he wanted, and nobody would be happy. Chafetz Chaim said, "You come to the Olam Hazeh and you're here for what, 60, 70, 80 years, and you look around, you see it doesn't make any sense. Olam Hazeh makes no sense. And you want to understand Olam Hazeh? If you would have been here from the beginning of time, and you understand the shorish of all the neshamas, and where the tachlis, the end of time, when the Mashiach comes, and Tchias HaMesim, and how everything is all fits into a plan, then you would understand that everything that's happening has got a tachlis, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is running the show in an very exact order. Therefore, that's Purim, and that's Kiddush Levana. That we should never lose hope of Kodesh Baruch Hu. We are HaKodesh Baruch Hu's people. We are the Banim to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, and He's got a plan. He's doing everything. He's managing Oisa Kol HaMaisim, and everything that's happening. Even the things that look terrible. Hester Panim, Hester Minatayim Minayim. The Golus Mitzrayim had a tachlis to create Klal Yisrael. We'd have to understand that from Avram Avinu with the Bris Bein Besorim. So Tzis Mitzrayim. Manishtana Halayla Hazeh. It's a Laila. It looks dark, but it's going just like the moon. It disappears. Eventually, we'll rejuvenate. I have to finish off. I have to tell you, this is amazing Maisa. This is an amazing Maisa. There's a Hasidic darshan, Ephraim Waxman in America. You've heard of Ephraim Waxman. It's Ephraim Waxman. He's a Rosh Yeshiva in Muncie. Muncie. He's a Rosh Yeshiva in Muncie. Hasidic. So he tells a story of his wife's grandparents. His wife's grandparents, at the beginning of the war, before the war started, they lived in Austria, in Vienna. And then the Nazis started invading. They invaded Austria. So they ran. They realized what would happen, what was going to happen. They were out to get the Jews. So they ran, and they were able to get to France. Somehow or other, they got to France. They were in the city of Bayonne in France, and they had to get out. They wanted to get out, to go to England, get out of Europe, because they realized that it was only a matter of time before the Nazis took over France, and you couldn't run away from them. They had to get out of Europe. How do you get out of Europe? He didn't know. He was Austrian. Here he is in a strange country. I don't know. He spoke the language, didn't speak the language, but he didn't know anything. He didn't know, how do you get out of France? How do you get over to England? So he saw a drunken sailor. You could see a sailor with the uniform on, the sailor uniform, and the guy was half drunk. So he went over to him, says, "How do I get on a ship to go to England?" Turns out that this was a Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore, Yugoslavia, huh? Yugoslavian sailor, and he was a captain of a ship. He says, we're sailing tomorrow, or sailing soon, to England, but I have an empty ship, you can come on, I'll take you to England, but you have to have a visa, otherwise they won't let you in. How do I get a visa? How do you get a visa? So he started desperately asking around, how do you get a visa? He found that a couple of miles away, there was a British consulate outside in the next city. So immediately he traveled to the British consulate and was hoping to get a visa, and it was impossible. It was packed. There was throngs of people. Everybody was banging on the doors, trying to get into the consulate, trying to get visas to England, and it was impossible. Thousands of people, and the guards had the doors locked shut. They wouldn't let anybody in. It's a lost case. Lost case. He stood there. He didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, it started pouring. Mom, it's just like it is outside, It started pouring. It came out. It was mama's a downpour. Everybody ran for cover, and even the guards they ran inside, and they wanted to get out of the rain, and they opened the doors, ran inside. So he also started running. He just started running. He's trying to get out of the rain, and he followed the guards, and all of a sudden he finds himself in the consulate. He finds himself in the consulate. He looks around and says, "Oh, there's a door over there." He says, "British consul. This is the British consul. Oh, this is the exact person I want. This is the consular general." So he knocked on the door and opened it up. Says, "Who are you? What are you doing? What are you doing here?" I'm sorry, with the British accent. "What are you doing here?" He says, "Listen, I'm a Jew, and I have to get out, and I have passage to England, and I have to get a visa." He says, "I can only go on the boat if I have a visa, and my whole family is we're in danger because we're Jews, and you have to save us. Only you can save us." And for some strange reason, even though the British are known to be not very friendly to the Jews, he had a heart. And he says, "Certainly, just give me a passport and I'll stamp it, and I'll stamp it with a visa." "Oh, wow, you're so thankful." He forgot his passport at home. No passport. He fainted on the spot. They had to call in help and pour water on him and revive him. And the consul asked him, "What happened?" "I forgot my passport. It's with my wife, and what am I going to do?" He said, "It doesn't matter. Here." He took out a blank piece of paper with the stationery, chief consular of the United Kingdom, and he wrote, the people listed below have full rights to enter the United Kingdom." And he stamped it at the bottom with his signature and his stempel, and he handed it to him. He had a whole sheet of paper, a blank piece of paper. He ran back. He wrote down. He gathered as many Jews as he could. He wrote down. He filled up the whole sheet of paper with names. They're able to get onto that Yugoslavian boat. It was empty, and they got into England. The worst possible scenario. He's waiting outside the consul and there's no way in. And finally he gets in and he forgot his passport. The worst possible scenario. And it turned out to be the biggest hatzolah for him. And therefore Ephraim Waxman is living to this day, him and his wife, and they have a wonderful family, and everybody, they came from England. So this is what we learn from Kiddush HaChodesh. U'la'lavana amash tischadesh. We are doing to the Lavana. Shehem asid l'schadesh k'moisu l'fer l'yotzru al shem kavod malchusay. We should all have a Freilich and Pesach.
Right. I'll write a lot of cause for it's your 15th anniversary this week. So can you give my wife watches every week. Can you give advice for how do you get to 50 and beyond? Any regular cause for stay alive? Okay.
How do you get?
How do you successfully and with a lot of Sean bias and a lot of great kids? I'll regular cause. What's your secret? What's the secret?
I will send you a Victor Miller. He's got a pamphlet which is the booklet of a successful marriage. 2 points, which I said over at my 50th wedding anniversary. 1, always express recognition and thank your spouse. Recognition how much I appreciate you. She does wonderful things for you, your spouse, your wife. She slaves in the kitchen. She raises the kids. She goes to the store. She's right, and she also struggles with you in your bad moods, and she's always with you. Show appreciation. That's number one. That was my shver. He always showed appreciation to my shviger. Always. That's number one. Number two is a dogma of Klal Yisrael. The dogma of Klal Yisrael is nemanus, loyalty. No matter what, you had a fight with your wife. Forget it. You're loyal. It doesn't mean anything. The main thing is loyalty. Loyalty from the beginning into the end. And if you're both loyal to each other, it's a dogma to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, you have siyata d'shmaya, and you'll reach the diamond anniversary, Be'ez Hashem.
Okay, Soon by you, Sinclair. Soon
No,
by you.
diamond anniversary.
60.
75.
75.